Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and to those who have been watching my videos, I would have made a review like a long one, but the thing is I had my exam, so I couldn't make it. So anyway, so let's get to it. Before I discuss about the problems of the movie, I will tell you what I really liked about the movie. Now the thing is, this movie had a lot of things going on in the 2 hours, 20 minutes we had. We just had like a few minutes to spare with everyone. So it went here and there, and they really set up the characters. If someone hasn't watched Civil War, they're like, yeah, we had a Civil War situation, we don't talk anymore. And if someone did not know Ragnarok, they're like, hey, this is what happened in Ragnarok. And then a lot of things was like, they just set it up and they were like, you know what, let's just get into the action. So it was like action, it was just action here and there, and everything was massive. I really liked everything. Like, characters were amazing, the jokes, like some people were like, no, I felt the humor was a bit too much. Well, the thing is, for me, the thing about MCU humor is that in some places I feel it's a bit too much. But in this movie, the Guardians were there. I felt like, that's how they are, they don't have to change for one single movie. It's not like suddenly Peter Quill and be like, oh, I'm going to be serious in this movie. Okay, they can't do that. So in that way, since they were there, it was more funny, and I just enjoyed these lame ass jokes. I mean, it was fun. I loved Guardians 1 and 2 like really more than anyone. So I would give my rating to the movie 10 on 10. Like, it's perfect. It's too good. First part we've seen, it's amazing. And it was well done. Like, they gave Thanos a really good character. Like, that's one of the best parts about the movie. Like, when I was watching, I was like, wow, Thanos is like really a character. They developed it over the entire movie. They showed off so many things. But the thing is, at the same time, when I was watching the Gamora scene, it did not really feel like that powerful. Like, the ending, it was good. Like, I really liked it. But the part where, he kind of killed, the part where, he's like, he's crying and he throws her, it just felt a bit off. But I don't know. I mean, the whole Thanos character in the MCU is different from what we've seen in the comics. In the comics, it's more of him wanting to profess his love for death. In this, they made it to a much more, like watered down version. And he was like, if you have half of the everything would be better, everyone would be happier. It was kind of good, but it wasn't that great in a way. Overall, what I felt was this movie had a lot of things going on. It did not have enough time to spend with each of them, but at the same time, it couldn't do the same thing because of the grand scale of events. It had to jump back and forth. So yeah, everything was pretty awesome. Now let's get to the problems. Like, as much as the movie is awesome, there were a couple of things which were like, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with these guys, alright? First off, the movie starts with the whole Loki, they fight and Thanos kills them, and then Hulk just goes on into hand-in-hand combat with them, and he gets screwed, and then he's transported to Earth. Now the thing is, at that point, when he's fighting against the Black Order on Earth, when the whole Tony battle comes, why isn't Hulk coming out? That doesn't make sense. He's the guy who went against Surtur in Ragnarok, and even in Ragnarok he has fought so many people before all sorts of crazy aliens, and he's afraid for 4 loser aliens. What the hell? Like, that doesn't make sense. Everyone's like, oh, he's afraid of Thanos, maybe that's why. But he's fighting against the Black Order. He's fighting against the Outriders. Those people, they're just nothing. Hulk can easily come out and fight. So Hulk not coming out during that particular point was just bullshit to me. I didn't really like that. It did not make sense to what the character has been and what it will. Like, Russo's call it character development, but it doesn't look like character development. It looks like, oh well, we're just gonna make up stuff like, well, in the Infinity Gauntlet series it's like that. But inside the MCU, you're willing to change an entire character for someone from the comics. You change Thanos completely, but for Hulk, you are like, oh, I'm going to stay true to that. It just doesn't make sense. So that was one of those things. Even a lot of people also were like, why did they dumb down Dr. Banner? Dr. Banner is one of the really intelligent minds on Earth, and they're like, you know what? Oh, he's just going to be making jokes. I mean, I get it, right? He was in Thor Ragnarok, but some things feel off, like, because the Dr. Banner we get in Age of Ultron, and the one we get in Ragnarok, and then the one we get now, there has not been much passage of time. It's like, literally, he was like 2 days in that body, and then he's back to this. So he shouldn't certainly be joking around and acting weird like this. So that's one of those things where I was like, they went for a much more funnier tone, but it really did not suit the character well. And coming to another part is the Black Order. I just feel like, it was like they were just there for the sake of it, and then they're like, you know what, done. We're done with them, let's kill them now. Black Widow, Falcon, and Steve Rogers fighting them, that was funny. Like, those people, like, the thing is, the power dynamics felt a bit off because the other Black Order members, the Black Dwarf and Ebony Maw, they were really powerful. These two people should be like some next level fighter type, characters, but they were just like, we're just characters, we're gonna get beat up and now we're gonna leave. So overall that kind of felt off. So, and then coming to the whole Tony scenario, Tony getting Spider-Man showing up, I love that scene, when he goes like, shh, hey man, that was like the best thing ever. I love the entire Spider-Man part of the whole thing. It was wonderful. And even Doctor Strange, at least in this they made him much more serious, because in Doctor Strange he was like a dude who was just joking around half of the time. And it's like, hey, let's be quippy, we're gonna make some funny jokes. It was like that. It did not, but in this one they did properly, so that was good. The Thor subplot. Alright, now the thing is, Thor from Ragnarok is a really funny dude, I get it. But the problem in this movie is that they put him with the Guardians, and he was being funny at the same time. I really love that part. There was this moment where the whole like August like, I'm gonna be the captain, and he starts talking to Thor, and he's like, oh, this happened. It's just that movie could have been much better, and it just like Rocket's like, you know what, let's make fun of it. I mean, see, Rocket makes fun, alright, I get it, but they could have made it a much more impactful scene, because by the end of the movie, when you see Thor throwing down the Stormbreaker and then hits Thanos, and it's just like, whoa, that's so cool. And then the way he speaks, the tone coming from that, I want Thor to be a bit serious at that particular point. And even when he gets the whole Stormbreaker, Aetheri, I think, the dwarf who makes Peter Dinklage's character, he's the one who makes the whole like the whole gauntlet for Thanos. Now the thing is, I'm not so sure what the MCU timeline is now. Age of Ultron happens and Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet by the end of it. Okay, that's cool. Alright. Then this entire charade happens, and when the Dwarf King says, he's like, oh well, where was Asgard? And then Thor goes like, it was destroyed. So this happened when Asgard was destroyed. So after that, so the entire timeline doesn't make sense right now. So why didn't Thor help them? Because Asgard was destroyed, but then that was like a few days back or a few weeks back. So that entire scenario doesn't make sense. Made me go like, this doesn't make sense, this entire thing. How could Age of Ultron went back then, but then this entire plot in the middle, it happened before that? So it's like the small time between Age of Ultron and this Thor Ragnarok happened, and then we got it. So yeah, I mean, they have to kind of explain that. I don't know what they did. So that's one thing. And yeah, what about even this thing, like the whole Spider-Man, all of them fighting. Like, Doctor Strange is like, oh, I'm not going to use a time gem. If he can use it, he can just pause time and he can just grab the gauntlet off, and then he could just kill them off, And even when he was fighting against the Black Order, they just opened one of the portals and then his hand got slashed. So he could have opened another portal and he could have gone to freaking, I don't know, back home. Or he could have opened one and he could have killed, like Thanos in 1 second. So these are so many things where, they've used it in certain places, but when it came to the villain, they're like, oh, we're not going to use it because, that's how the plot works. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like bullshit, I just don't like shit like this. Like this, it's sort of like how Barry Allen in the TV show Flash, he can run, like, he can slow down time, and, he can talk to everyone around in that 5 seconds left. But he can't run so fast and save Iris in season 3. So that shit doesn't make sense. It's like this, like, it's just so illogical, One hand they're doing this and the other hand they're doing some bullshit like this. So it makes you go like, what the hell are they doing? Like, settle on one thing which you want. Another thing which I did not really like about this movie is how it was ignorant about Ragnarok. Ragnarok happened, Thor lost his eye, and then they give it back to him. Okay, I get he lost his hammer, they're gonna give him new ones. And the entire thing, like the whole thing about Hulk's transformation into this person who can talk and who can fight well and who goes up against Surtur, that's gone. And then Thor is all like, oh, you know what, I lost my hand now, oh, I'm getting an eye. So that shit doesn't make sense. And on top of that, they give this whole Stormbreaker thing, and it's just that in Ragnarok, what happened was Thor became really OP. He didn't even need the hammer to fight anyone, and in this he needed the hammer to fight Thanos. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, the entire time when he was in chains against Ebony Maw, he could have just flown out, or he could have done all sorts of electric bullshit, all sort of thunder type thing coming around. So it felt as if the Russos were like, oh, let's give a Thor an arc, but it's gonna be like this. But then, they've already done something in the past, and let's ignore it. So a lot of these things which happened in the movie felt like, they were just ignorant about the entire thing. They did not really coordinate well with the... It's similar to how Tony Stark doesn't need like an arc reactor to save his heart anymore. And then in the next movie, they're like, hey, you know what? You need that shit to save your heart. I mean, that shit doesn't make sense. That's how this sounds. So Thor can be OP, but he needs that thing to fight them. He could easily... Thor is one of the most powerful. He's the powerfulest Avenger right now. And he can fight Thanos or who else is there, right? Even Ebony Maw, he could have just electricity, like, he could have just brought in all the lightning or whatever it is, and he could have just done the whole thing. But this entire thing felt really off because of that. These were my problems, alright? Like, I'm not saying that... you might be like, oh, you're just nitpicking, you can't enjoy the product. I did enjoy the product. It's just that when I watch it again, I'm like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You can't just retcon things and change things according to what you please when the movie was like a few days ago, a few weeks ago. And even the whole the gauntlet thing, they retcon that. Like, the whole timeline is changed. They're just doing whatever they want. Overall, what I feel what happened with this movie is that Russos were like, you know what, this is the plot line which you want to do, and it's up to you guys to do whatever you want and come up to this. If you don't care about the rest, just come up to this point, and that's up to you guys. So they did it. I feel that they really did not think it through about certain elements when it came to other characters who are not in Civil War, and that's one of the major flaws. And even Spider-Man, although he was well done in Homecoming, some people were like, nah, he was too messed up. I think Russos did it better. I don't know how they're going to handle Homecoming 2. Like, it's going to release 2 months after Infinity War Part 2, and that doesn't make sense, like, the whole thing really have PTSD. People are like, oh, he needs to have that, otherwise then this whole thing doesn't make sense. Or they're just going to be like, oh, we just rebooted the universe, none of this happens. Then what happened to the Spider-Man who dies? So that's a big question. So there's so many questions, there's so many things. I can't really say what's going to happen. And the entire plot was just okay, I guess. I mean, it did not matter because we know what's going to happen and we were always prepared for what's happening right now. It's sort of like, preparing for a TV show's finale, and you're like, oh, why didn't they set up all these characters? Well, they did it up in the previous episode, so it's fine. So in that way, I did not have any issues with that. So yeah, these were my major issues, and I really did not feel that Russos did a great job in keeping the continuity in certain ways. They retcon stuff, but the retcon shouldn't have been what happened in the previous movie, which was like a year back. So yeah, I mean, like I said, they did that before earlier on with Iron Man 3 though. Like, the Iron Man 3 was supposed to retire Robert Downey Jr. and be like, hey, this is it, I'm done with Iron Man. I want to be done with the superhero business, I'm going to move on to other projects. And then they gave him a $40 million deal for, I think, Civil War and Age of Ultron. And that's the reason why he actually returned for all these movies. I mean, this video has been long enough. It's up to you what you think about this, because I felt this was the issue. I mean, I might be wrong, I'm not saying I'm not wrong. I'm the perfect MCU fan who knows everything or anything. But it just feels that when they have so much in continuity happening, and then they just like, you know what, screw the shit, we're not going to do that, it feels a bit off. So it's up to you guys. Let me know what you think about it. If I'm wrong, let me know about that also. Thumbs up if you like the video, thumbs down if you don't like the video, comment, like, subscribe or not. Peace.